Have you figured out your niche? Are you helping adding value to other people's lives? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Munira's Musings with your host, co-author of Conversations with Top Real Estate Investors Volume 3, Munira Zahabi.
Greetings from Chicagoland. This is Munira, your host for Munira's Musings and the Niche Navigator coming to you. We welcome you to another episode with our guest, Richard Kaufman. Hi, Richard.
Hi, folks. How are you?
I'm good. So Richard is a veteran, and he's going to talk about how he became the comeback coach. Munira Zahabi, I'm the Niche Navigator. I help you align your skills to find the niche that you are harboring, and I do that by using my little compass in the back. And Munira's musings came about because there are extraordinary people who, in their background, in their own way, helping other people get to where they want. Every one of us has unique gifts. Each gift that everybody is blessed with is different. So I am curious and I want to know how each person is using their gift. And so this is why this show came about.
Okay.
And so my friend Richard is going to talk about what his gift is and what he's doing. And I know you're a veteran, so let's start there. Hi, Richard. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I did 24 years in the military, total
Thank
time.
you so much for your service.
Oh, thank you. Well, the first time I actually got thrown out of the military for being a drug addict and alcoholic, the first time.
Oh.
And then I went back in, and that's when I finished. I did 24 years of service.
So when you said thrown out, they found out that you have the bad habits, they took you out. Did you have to go through a certain program to come back in? Or sometimes I've heard that they don't allow people with that background to come back in.
Well, see, this was back in 1989, so it was way back then. But I had to stay clean for a certain amount of time. I had to get articles written about me, personal people that know me, to let them know that I straightened out and I wasn't that person that I was when I got kicked out the first time.
Okay, so and how old were you, if I may ask?
Well, the first time when I went in, the day I turned 17, a week later I shipped, and I got thrown out about 19 years old. And then I went back in about 20 or 21.
Okay, so when you say you shipped, where did you go?
That's when I went to Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Okay, so when you came back, it seems like you wanted to serve your country. So why was that such a big deal for you?
Well, the first time I went in, because my mother told me I had to either get a job or join the military, so I joined the military. The second time I went in, because I felt like there was unfinished business. I wanted to make sure that I got out on my terms, not out on their terms.
Okay, that's awesome. So tell us how you evolved when you joined the second time. What happened there, and did you fight any wars? I want to know all that.
Well, the second time, and this is big part of my story. I got clean and sober in 1989. I haven't had a drink or drug since '89.
Awesome.
But I still had the attitude. I was still an asshole. Excuse my language. I was still a young punk. And I was about to be thrown out again in September of 2001, at the end of September of 2001. And then not the morning of 9/11 happened. And because I lived in New Jersey at one point, I knew some of the people that we lost in the towers that day.
I'm so sorry.
And I was sitting watching it on TV, and something broke in me. I became a broken man, and I got real emotional, and I decided that if I still had a military career, which I didn't think I was going to have, that I was going to dedicate the rest of my life to helping others that can't help themselves. So I called my company commander that day, and I set up a meeting for the next day. I begged him for another chance. They said they've heard that story from me before, but they've seen something different in me. And they actually, thank God, they let me stay in. And from that point, within 2 years, I became Soldier of the Year. I became an officer, and that's when I finished eventually with 24 years in the military.
Oh, wow. What happened?
To be honest, even like I wrote in my book, I don't know. It was just something. I think God humbles you at certain times in your life. And I just became a broken man because I'm in the military. My family is in 10 minutes away from the towers, and I'm helpless. I can't do anything. And that's when I just decided, you know what? For the last 30 years, I've been living for myself. Now it's time to live for others. And that's when my whole life started again on September 11th, 2001.
Wow, that's an incredible story. Thank you so much for sharing. So let me ask you this. You're an author as well, as you mentioned.
Yeah, the book just came out in, I think, February. It's on Amazon Kindle.
What does it say? What's your book's title?
It's called A Hero's Journey.
Oh,
From Darkness to Light.
Great. So share a little bit about your story. I mean, what do you write about? Is that
it's about my whole life story. How I grew up really poor. My father left at 3 months old. So my mother was a nurse. She worked all weird hours. We moved around place to place. So I lived I went to 12 different schools by the time I was in 8th grade. So I never really connected, made friends. And New Year's Eve, New Year's Eve when I was about 12, I got drunk for the first time. And by the age of 13, I was a full-blown alcoholic. And joined the military. So not only did I dropped out of school in 9th grade. So I only have a 9th grade formal education, which is funny now because now I run $1 million company, but I only have a 9th grade education. But so I became a full-blown alcoholic, and I joined the military, became an alcoholic and a drug addict. Came back out, got thrown out like I told you. Came back out and joined the military again. Almost got thrown out. Thank God I didn't get thrown out. But in my last tour of duty, which is in New Jersey, I actually got hurt. I was backing up a vehicle, and instead of him hitting the brakes, he hit the gas, and he ran over the whole right side of my body and my head. That's why I'm blind. I'm blind in this eye. And yeah, so and the military retired me, but not only did I lose my eyesight, I lost my career at the same time. So I got into a deep, dark depression. And then I figured after about 6 months, I was like, all right, you've been through being a drug addict. You've been an alcoholic. I lived in my car for about a year. I was homeless. I came back through all this other stuff. So this was just one more thing I had to come back from. And I just started going to the VA, getting help. And I just started on my journey of, help, of getting back. And I found out the more I help other people, the more I'm helped. The more I give, the more I get. So now I just decided just to put it all out. And now I'm getting all the blessings in return.
That is a very awesome story. See, and I see people who are afraid to give, right? And now, even I used to be like that. So, and now when I have given more, so many blessings coming in different forms and shapes, and that's so amazing. So you said you run a multi-million-dollar company. What's your company about, and when did it start?
I'm just a general manager right now, soon to be part owner. He's been in business 23 years. I've been there 10 years. And I took it from a $400,000 a year business to a $1.3 million a year business in 2 years.
What is the company about?
General Nutrition Center, GNC.
Oh, wow.
Health food, fitness, supplements, all that kinds of stuff.
So how did you get into that?
Well, the funny thing is, like I wrote in my book, that, you know, like I told you, I only have a 9th grade education, but I've probably read over 5,000 to 6,000 books in my life. Because when I was young, when I was like 5 or 6 years old, and my parents would always argue, I would go in the bathtub, lay in there, have the water cover my ears, and I would just read for hours. And so the first book I ever picked up, my mother was a nurse, so I picked up a nursing book about health. And I just started, something I've always been interested in. And any job I've ever, like if I was ever in the military somewhere, I always took a job at like the local gym, the local GNC. So it's something I've been doing for the last, I just figured it out this morning. 33 years now, I've been in the health and fitness industry.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's fun. It's another way of helping others. My whole life is about helping other people.
Great. So tell us, I mean, this is an incredible story. Most people after the war get issues there. I see so many people with PTSD, and, you know, there's so many other things that they go through. And you just came out of it despite whatever happened to you, the accident happened to you. And
well, I mean, I still have the post-traumatic stress. You know, I still have the TBI. I still have the BPD, but it's something that I have to learn to cope with on a positive level. And I find out the more I put my story out there and help others, the more I'm helping myself. That's why they call me the comeback coach, because people see, you know, I've been through so much stuff, and I'm just not quitting. I won't quit, and I won't let anybody else quit. As long as I have a breath in my body, nobody has to be alone anymore.
It's the exact words of a warrior, right? A leader, a warrior, because they help people up, and that's what you're doing, and that's awesome. Thank you so much for doing that. Advice do you give to people who are kind of thinking maybe this is not for me, or I don't know what I'm doing, maybe this is, you know, they're just lost? What would you say to them?
Well, as you know, you probably don't know, but I've been friends with Gary V for a couple of years now. And, you know, Gary always says, you know, when I met him the last time we talked, you know, I asked him to give me a little bit of information, you know, give me something I can take back and use. And he said, you know, Rich, your legacy will always be more valuable than your currency. Focus on your legacy. Your currency will take care of itself.
That's a profound thought, really. That is. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Well, and that's why I wrote the book, because I figured, you know, even when my grandkids, they'll know what their grandpa was all about. When that book will always be out there. They'll always know, you know, that's part of my legacy.
Yes, yes. So you want people to leave a legacy. What of those people who are in the same position as you, who have not only from the army, but in real life, they've suffered trauma, they've gone back down, and now they just don't want to get up again, right?
Well, then I always ask somebody, you know, have you ever seen any of the Rocky movies? And everybody's seen the Rocky movie.
I haven't seen all of the Rocky movies, but I know what they are.
If you have seen them, I always ask him, well, how come you watched the second one? He said, because they came back. I was like, see, everybody loves a comeback story. You are the next comeback story. So, you know, you have to, it's fun to be able to prove people wrong in a lot of ways too. Like I've had some people in my family said, oh, you'll never make it in the military. And that was one of the big things why I went back in, because I had to prove some points to some people.
Ah, okay. I see.
Know, but then after 9/11, I fell in love with it. And that's what, you know, I would have done 30 years if I didn't get hurt. But I think if people are struggling, another thing Gary taught me is find out what you truly love and triple down on that. Don't worry about what you don't do good. Worry what you really love and what you're good at. That's what you need to triple down on. Don't worry about what you're not good at. Because a lot of people get so focused of, oh, I can't do this, I'm not good at that. Who cares? If you're not good at something, who cares? Do what you're great at and become even greater at that.
I love that message. Thank you so much. Today I was listening to my mentor, and that's what he said. Fall in love with what you love to do.
Yeah.
If you do that, and that passion is going to show, that everything else will just dissolve in the background.
Yep. And if, like I said, maybe, Michael Phelps is not the greatest runner, but he's the greatest swimmer. So who cares if he doesn't run well? He swims great. So, that's what we need to focus on. Focus on our positives, not our negatives. Because so many people focus on the negative stuff in their life. They'll never focus on the positive.
You're right. You're right. And what would you tell people who are on the fence maybe to join the army? Should they do it? Should they not do it?
Military, army. I tell people either you're going to love it or you're going to hate it. There's no middle ground. If you're going just for free college, then you're going in for the wrong reasons. If you're going in because you love your country and you want free college, that's another thing. Because most people get in military realize, wait a minute, I'm deployed. I can't go to college until I get out. So pretty much you just spent 4 years or 6 years not going to college. So if you go in thinking, oh, I'm just going for college, well, you're not going to see college for 6 years. And if you don't like being told what to do, don't go in. If you're the person, like that's one place I actually became a leader. I learned how to become a leader. And the only way I learned to become a good leader was become a great follower. So, the better follower you are, the better leader you'll eventually become.
Great. So many nuggets. Thank you so much for sharing. So folks, here it is. If you want to join the army, the military, the Navy, whatever it is, if you don't want to be told what to do, don't go. If you're going for the wrong reasons, don't do it. But if you love your country because this is home and you love it, then go for it, because America is the greatest country in the world.
Yep.
Okay. The second thing is do what you love, and do it without hesitation. Do it without asking for any returns, because those returns will eventually come to you. You don't know when. Just give without asking for anything. All of the stuff that you said, it's not like we haven't heard it before. We have. But the way you said it really hit my heart. Any last words for our audience?
Well, two things I would say. Number one would be humble. Be humble and be teachable. Because people don't like people that are braggarts. That people like people that are humble. And I find out the more humble I become, the better my life becomes. And also is to be teachable. Find a good mentor. Sometimes when I was growing up, I thought I knew everything. I had all the answers. As I get older,
everybody think like that.
But as I get older, I find out I have more questions than I do answers. So that would be the top two things: would stay humble and be teachable.
Awesome. That is awesome. So there you go, folks. Be humble and be teachable. Find a mentor. Doesn't matter who you find. It's somebody who is going to influence you in the positive way, in the direction that you want to go to. It doesn't matter where you are. You just got to start somewhere. And
they say that you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great.
How do we contact you?
Well, another thing that Gary, I know I bring him up a lot, but just he's such an influence. I said, one more, give me one other nugget of information I could take. He said, make yourself a hashtag, because like his hashtag is hashtag Gary V. So my hashtag is hashtag the ComeBACK Coach. And that'll bring you to my Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, LinkedIn. All my social media is all linked into that one hashtag. hashtag the comeback coach.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to take that advice and create the niche navigator hashtag.
Yeah. So every time I put a tweet out or anytime I do any Facebook, it's always with that same hashtag. So now when people look it up, they can see all my social media.
Wonderful. See, another tip, another IT tip that we didn't know. There you go. So take away from all these nuggets that Richard is sharing with us. And if you like this show, please go ahead, like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate you being on my show. I'm humbled and honored. I'm in presence of
it's my honor to be here.
Thank you. And I appreciate it. For those of you watching, please go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. And have a wonderful day till our next episode and a new guest on Munira's Musings. Thank you.
Thank you for
Bye.
listening to this episode of Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Zahabi. If you enjoyed our show, please share and subscribe to this channel. And for more content, please join our Facebook group.